Hey there. Thanks for being here. Seriously, it means more than I can say. And if you hit that subscribe button, you'll make my day even better. Now let's get into it. The instant I caught the crisp, deliberate rhythm of heels striking the kitchen tiles, I knew something was off. My wife never wore heels around the house. Not when friends visited, not even for birthdays or holiday dinners. That sharp cadence didn't belong in our laid-back coastal home. I'd just come in from the garage rinsing seawater from my diving equipment after a long day off the Wilmington, North Carolina coast. But that clicking sound echoing through the rooms wasn't just out of place. It was a warning. I stepped inside and found her by the hallway mirror, smoothing a strand of hair into place. That's when I caught sight of the dress. Sleek. Black. Perfectly tailored. The kind of thing you'd see in glossy magazines. Not in our closet. And definitely not on her, not once in the 2 decades we'd spent together. "Got plans?" I asked, keeping my voice casual, a damp towel still slung over my shoulder. She didn't even pause. "I've got a date," she said, like she was mentioning a lunch errand. "Try not to be too jealous." Then she smiled. But it wasn't her smile. Not the one that used to light up when I came home with a fresh red drum. Not the smile that showed up when we'd sway barefoot to old records in the kitchen. This smile was colder, hollow, belonged to someone else entirely. I should have snapped, demanded names, thrown questions like knives, but instead I murmured, "Hope Dana likes the version you give her tomorrow." That cracked her facade, just slightly. Her eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" she asked. I stepped aside. "Nothing important. Enjoy your evening." But she knew it wasn't nothing. Dana, her sister, lived down the street and had already begun poking at the holes in Jamie's stories. Especially those so-called book club nights, nights that ended with hotel stays, mysterious makeup receipts, dinner bills from seafood joints I'd never set foot in. When the front door clicked shut behind her, I sat down in the living room and stared. No TV, no scrolling, just the fridge humming in the background and a silence that could carve through concrete. That smile of hers stayed with me, a ghost of everything I thought I understood about our life unraveling in seconds. "My name's Caleb Morris. I'm 45 years old, and I run ocean trace diving out of Carolina Beach. Before this, I was a rescue diver in the Navy. I've pulled people from sinking boats, ripped through riptides to drag strangers to safety, situations where every second meant the difference between living and dying. But this betrayal was a different kind of deep, and it didn't cut the way I thought it would. It was cold, precise, like a scalpel, too quick to feel until it's already done the damage. I didn't lose my temper. Not at first. Training kicked in. Stay steady, read the scene, build a response, then act. When she crept back through the door around 2:15 a.m., I was already set on what needed to happen. No shouting, no emotional explosions, no pleading. This was going to be exact. By morning, she was back in routine, singing along with the radio, tossing ice cubes into her coffee. "You home for dinner tonight?" she asked, kissing me on the cheek. "Got yoga after lunch." I smiled back. "I'll see what I can do." She thought she had me wrapped, thought she'd strolled off with my dignity zipped in her clutch. But she didn't really know who she was dealing with. I don't explode, I calculate, so I started digging. Jamie always took care of our finances, said she was better with spreadsheets. What I found? She wasn't good with numbers, she was just skilled at misdirection. Several $400 ATM withdrawals, boutique charges I'd never heard of, and one store that sold luxury lingerie with price tags fit for celebrities. I felt sick. I walked out to the dock and called Jack Ronan, a trusted friend from my Navy years, now a private investigator based in Charlotte, a guy who never flinches. "Caleb," he answered. "Talk to me." I got straight to it. "I need intel on my wife, and on someone named Chase Hartwell." There was a pause. "You know who he is?" Jack asked. "She called him her book club buddy. Used to take classes at my dive shop. I banned him after he got caught taking creep shots of women in wetsuits." Jack gave a low whistle. "All right, I'll run it down. But don't spook her. Let her think she's winning. That's when people mess up." I agreed. This wasn't about jealousy anymore. It was about positioning. From this point on, only one rule applied. Let them act. Let them think they're safe. By Thursday, Jack had results. A thick dossier on Hartwell. The man Jamie had thrown everything into. A slick operator, 41 years old, sold high-end real estate, recently divorced, flashy spender, always looked clean on paper. But the shadows told another tale. 3 civil cases, settled quietly, no criminal record, but plenty of manipulation. Then came the punch to the gut. Chase wasn't chasing women, he was hunting their wallets. "It's a con," Jack told me. "He seduces married women, builds trust, gets them to open credit lines, invest, take out loans, then he vanishes." My stomach dropped. Jamie wasn't just being fooled, she was complicit. This wasn't seduction, it was collusion. Then came the final blow. I walked into our bank and asked them to review our mortgage records. We'd been clients for years. The branch manager tapped her keyboard, then looked up. "Looks like there's a second mortgage, approved a few weeks ago, $185,000. I froze. "No chance. I never signed for that." She turned the screen. There was my name, my signature, my ID number, all forged. I could barely grip the door handle walking back to my truck. My phone buzzed. Jack again. "We found the connection. The broker's out of Charlotte. The mortgage was funneled through a shell company, Marina Horizon Ventures. Your wife's name is linked to the setup. They're getting ready to disappear." That night, Jamie walked through the door, glowing, shopping bags in both arms, labels I couldn't pronounce. "You're home early," she said, placing the bags on the counter. "Got the dress for that Asheville wedding?" She did a little twirl, the necklace catching the overhead lights like a confession. "Looks great," I said, keeping it level. "You deserve something special." She lit up. "Finally some love around here." "Oh, I've been noticing a lot lately," I replied. Her brow creased slightly. She didn't press. The trap was set. By Monday, I made my move. Froze our shared accounts. Retained legal firepower. Daniel Shaw, another ex-Navy man turned top-tier attorney. After combing through the documents, he leaned back and whistled. "This isn't just about cheating," he said. "This is serious. Identity fraud, mortgage crimes, criminal conspiracy. If you're ready to take her down," he added, flipping the last page, "we go scorched earth." "No," I said. "We do this the right way. No outbursts, no spectacle. I want her to collapse under the weight of her own deception, quietly and completely." Daniel smirked, a spark of recognition in his eyes. "That's the deadlier strategy." "Exactly." On Wednesday, Jamie told me she was heading off on a wellness getaway. A girls-only trip, supposedly. A few days out of town. No cell service. Spa treatments. She kissed my cheek like it was any normal morning, but the suitcase she packed didn't match the story. I watched as she loaded 3 sleek pieces of luggage into the car. One bore initials I didn't recognize. I glimpsed a tag. First class. Destination? Miami. Passenger name? Chase Hartwell. That was where she was going. That was who she was going with. Before sliding into the driver's seat, she turned back. "Don't stay up," she called. I gave a calm smile. "Take your time. Everything's under control here." What she didn't know was that the life she'd chosen to leave would be gone by the time she returned. With Jamie out of the house, Jack and I got to work. Full access, her email, bank records, travel receipts. She'd left the doors wide open. Cloud backups, exposed files showing Chase's shady financials, and screenshots of counterfeit identification. Jack leaned over his screen and grinned. "They're flying to the Cayman Islands on Friday. First class, one way. How much did they siphon? I asked. Nearly 400 grand, he said. Split between two bogus trusts, a shell company out of Panama and an offshore account in Belize that's already under federal watch. I exhaled sharply. That's everything I built. Not for long, Jack replied. We're pulling it back. But we need pressure. Something that traps them. What kind of pressure? That night, I called Dana, Jamie's younger sister. Do you trust me? I asked. A pause then. More than I trust her. I told her everything. She didn't blink. I'll help, she said. She used to have a good heart, Caleb. Now, I don't even recognize her. I reached out to Lorraine next, Jamie's mother, a devout widow, and honestly, someone who'd always cared more for me than for Jamie. Jamie had told her she was launching a nonprofit. She asked me for $10,000, Lorraine said, stunned. Said it was for abused women. I wired it just yesterday. She's not opening a nonprofit, I told her. She's running. Silence, then a sharp breath. What do you need from me? By Friday night, the stage was set. Dana called Jamie with a story, an urgent family dinner at their mother's house, medical emergency. Just enough panic to make her rush. Jamie showed up expecting to play the dutiful daughter. Instead, she walked into a room with me, Dana, and Lorraine, each holding a sealed envelope. Jamie froze. Caleb, what is this? You tell us, I said, placing mine on the table. We're curious what you and Chase Hartwell have been doing with almost $500,000. She didn't sit. Her gaze flicked between us, like prey cornered. Dana opened hers first. Inside were high-resolution photos, Jamie and Chase at a luxury resort, laughing over drinks, cozy in a cabana, kissing under palm trees, every angle, every moment. Jamie? Dana's voice cracked. What is this? Jamie let out a sharp, bitter laugh. You're all insane. These are fake. Caleb's obsessed. But her voice quivered. The mask was slipping. Then Lorraine opened her envelope. Inside, the supposed non-profit's paperwork. The transfer request Jamie sent. The same file she forwarded to Chase's assistant just hours later. I believed you, Lorraine whispered. You said it was for shelters. Jamie turned defensive. You've been spying on me. This is a violation of my privacy. No, I said. This is me defending what I've built. I slid my envelope toward her. This one was heavy. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were forged loan documents, email chains between her and Chase, money transfers, and a fake passport under an alias. She didn't deny it, didn't speak, just slumped into a chair, hollow and stunned. And then the front door opened. A tall woman stepped in, dressed in black, calm and direct. She held up her badge. Jamie Morris, she said. I'm Agent Savannah Ridge with the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. You're under investigation for fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to launder funds. Jamie's breath hitched. No, wait. This isn't what it looks like. Oh no, I said, standing. It's exactly what it looks like. The next 72 hours unraveled quickly. The FBI raided Chase's condo. He was arrested at a private airfield outside Miami. On Monday, Agent Ridge called me. You helped break open a major case, she said. We've been tracking Chase for over a year. Thanks to you and your wife's carelessness, we finally have him. Jamie never reached out, but her attorney did. She's terrified, he told me. Willing to cooperate, if there's a deal. She ready to talk about the murder for hire? I asked. Silence. Then, yes. Jack had found the evidence. Buried in Chase's encrypted backup, one chilling entry. Target, Caleb Morris. Plan, sabotage rebreather valves during a dive session. Make it appear accidental, leave no trace. My stomach turned. He planned to kill me, I said quietly. Jack nodded. You were running out of time. A week more, maybe less. That was when the full weight hit me. Jamie hadn't just betrayed our finances or our vows. She'd stood beside a man ready to erase me from existence. On Tuesday, I visited her in custody. She looked nothing like the woman I married. Pale, stripped of polish, wearing prison orange. Her voice was barely audible. I didn't agree to that plan, she murmured. When Chase told me, I said no. But you didn't warn me. I thought he'd drop it. I thought if I vanished, it'd be over. He said if I told you, he'd kill us both. You forged my name. You emptied our accounts. You told my clients I'd retired. And you almost let someone tamper with my oxygen tanks. Her lower lip trembled. I messed up. No, I said. You made decisions. We sat in silence. Then she whispered, Will you let them ruin me? No, I said softly. You did that yourself. Back home at Ocean Trace, something unexpected happened. People started showing up, former clients, old Navy friends, even strangers who'd seen the story on the news. They weren't gawking. They came to stand with me. One man, Rick, pulled me aside after a dive. My wife did something similar, he said. Not fraud, but betrayal. Cost me everything. If you ever start something for men like us, I'm in. The realization came to me like a wave. What if Ocean Trace was more than a dive shop? What if it became a space for renewal, a refuge for those broken by betrayal? I contacted Agent Ridge. What about the others? I asked. She told me the truth. Over the last 5 years, at least 15 men had been scammed. Some had lost their homes, others their retirement savings. One man, she said, had even attempted suicide. I asked her, what if I reached out to them? I want to help them rebuild, I said. There was silence for a moment. Then she answered, Caleb, that could really mean something. In just a few weeks, Jamie agreed to a cooperation deal. Her sentence would drop from 20 years to 10 if she testified against the entire network, lawyers, brokers, executives, and even Chase. In giving her statement, she handed me something unexpected. Not revenge. Closure. For me, and for the others whose lives had been shattered. 3 weeks after Jamie's arrest, I found myself standing outside Ocean Trace, watching as folding chairs were placed along the dock. Not for tourists or diving lessons this time. This was different. At exactly 6 in the evening, we held the first meeting of a deep recovery support circle. Coffee brewed in the background, gentle music played, and an almost sacred stillness fell over the marina. 8 men arrived that evening. Every one of them had been betrayed, emotionally, financially, or both. Many had been taken advantage of by women who manipulated their trust. Vince had invested his entire savings into a bogus company at the urging of a girlfriend. It all disappeared. Marshall's home had been signed away without his knowledge by his own wife. These men sat before me, quiet, wounded, their faces rigid. I'm not here to lecture, I began. I'm here because I've lived through this too. I shared my own story, how my wife forged my name and nearly erased my identity. But I'm still here, I told them. A heavy silence followed. Then Marshall spoke. How do you stop hating her? He asked. You don't, I answered honestly. Not right away. But you take that pain and turn it into something useful, something healing. You build something that means something. By our third meeting, our numbers had nearly doubled. One man brought his teenage son, another offered to design a logo. Ron, a quiet mechanic, volunteered his boat for weekend healing trips. That's when I realized Ocean Trace had transformed. It wasn't just a shop anymore. It was a beacon. At the same time, the legal case against Jamie moved forward. Her trial, a federal case, drew national interest. But she wasn't the only one answering for what had happened. Chase Hartwell had been charged with more than fraud. Attempted murder for hire and interstate racketeering were now part of the case. His face was all over the news. He pleaded not guilty. Jamie took the stand as a witness for the government. Her testimony was detailed, emotional. She cried, not for the damage she'd done, but for herself. When the judge gave her 10 years with no chance of parole, she didn't look at me once. I left the courtroom with Lorraine beside me, her arm linked in mine. "You did the right thing," she told me. "You didn't just make it. You stood tall." "I wasn't looking for revenge," I said. "I just needed the truth to come out." She met my eyes. "You wanted both, and you got them." That same weekend, we hosted the first Dive and Heal retreat at Ocean Trace. 20 people flew in, veterans, bankers, barbers, men and women alike. We took them diving, letting the calm of the ocean hold them. Underwater, no one was a victim. They were explorers again. That Sunday evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, a woman approached me at the dock. "I'm Hannah Ridge," she said. "Savannah's sister. She told me about what you're doing." I nodded. Then she added, "My husband was defrauded. He died by suicide 3 years ago. What you've created, he needed that. I want to be involved." I didn't speak right away. I looked out over the water. Then I said, "You're welcome here." 2 months after Jamie was sentenced, Ocean Trace had changed. So had I. We'd added a second boat, the Phoenix, named by a teenager whose father had lost everything. Saturdays now featured recovery workshops. We brought in therapists, former victims, even law enforcement. Ocean Trace had evolved. It wasn't just a business. It was a symbol of what survival could look like. While leading a dive near Bald Head Island, I got a call from Savannah. "We need your help," she said. Chase wasn't just running cons. He was laundering drug money through fake charter services. She sent over a file with coordinates, locations of hidden containers placed in artificial reefs. One was just 20 minutes from where I taught beginners. "You want me involved?" I asked. "We need someone who knows the ocean floor," she replied. "Someone who notices when something doesn't fit." I joined their task force as a consultant. Each day I dove with law enforcement teams. I pointed out irregular patterns, silt that looked disturbed, reef formations that had been manipulated, coral that showed signs of being clipped. We uncovered crates filled with illegal goods, waterproof ledgers, and one item that left me shaken: a dive tank. The serial number had been scratched out. The inner valve had been tampered with. Savannah studied it with a grim expression. 15 minutes underwater, and it would have failed," she said. "He meant to kill you." I stared at the tank for a long time. But instead of rage, I felt something else: life. As for Chase, he was now facing life behind bars. 1 year later, a woman arrived at Ocean Trace. Early 30s, blonde hair pulled back, clearly nervous. "I'm Kylie Morris," she said quietly. "Jamie's cousin. We haven't spoken in years, but I've seen what you've built. I want to be a part of it." I raised an eyebrow, curious. "Why?" "My brother was conned 5 years ago. I never forgave Jamie. But you turned pain into purpose." She handed me a folder. Inside was a proposal for a mobile dive therapy unit, one that could bring trauma support to those who couldn't come to us. "It could serve women too," she added. I smiled. Ocean Trace was growing again. The final time I saw Jamie, we were divided by a sheet of bulletproof glass. She was 2 years into her sentence. Her face was gaunt, her voice barely audible. "I read the articles," she said. "You made Ocean Trace into something real." I gave a small nod. "You hate me," she said. "No," I replied. "I understand you now." "That's worse," she whispered. Then she asked, "Will you ever tell your story?" I stood slowly. "I already am." Back on the dock at Ocean Trace, I stood with Savannah, Hannah, and Jack. A banner flapped gently behind us, from depths to discovery. Annual recovery dive. Hundreds had gathered, men, women, children, survivors, all of them. As we sank beneath the surface, the noise of the world above fell away. We were floating, free. And that's where our story comes to a close. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for listening. If this journey touched you, explore the other stories on our channel. Until next time, be well, friend.